Thank you very much, Carly. It is 6 o'clock here in New York City, and this is Thursday, February 16th. Welcome to Fox and Friends. A Fox News alert. One person dead, 21 more hurt in a shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade.
Also breaking right now, is Russia planning to put nukes in space? What we know about the, quote, serious threat, as National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was briefing lawmakers, or will be briefing lawmakers later today.
Yeah, no one's on the same page right now. Plus, Washington, D.C. carjackings are set to keep pace with the record-shattering 2023 numbers.
It seems like it's mainly kids, like a younger generation that has no regard for human life.
Lawrence spoke with a father who lost his son to a carjacking, and he will be reporting from there all morning long. Fox and Friends starts right now. Obviously, we begin with a Fox News alert, and here's this story you've been following all day. 3 people are in custody this morning after a deadly shooting spree at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl celebration.
One person was killed and at least 21 others hurt, including 11 children between the ages of 8 and 16. TMZ video capturing the moment gunfire erupted. Watch this.
Lucas Tomlinson is live with what we know now. Lucas?
Good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian. A total of 22 people were shot, including 9 children. One woman was killed. A spokeswoman at Children's Mercy Hospital described the young victims.
The ages of the pediatric patients we treated were 6 to 15.
How were the children that you saw? What was their, I guess, disposition like after going through something?
Fear. The one word I would just use to describe what we saw and how they felt when they came to us was fear.
Of the children who were shot, how many of them suffered serious and critical injuries?
All of them will recover, and I wouldn't say that any of them are critical at this point.
And this is how one eyewitness described the scene earlier.
Other than the terror around me, I heard my daughter and I were trying to walk to get out from the parade because it was over, and then all of a sudden we heard gunshots. We thought they were fireworks, and then everybody just starts running right at us. We were lucky, but not everyone was.
Fans had gathered in downtown Kansas City to celebrate the Chiefs winning their 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years. Many are calling Paul Contreras a hero for tackling one of the alleged shooters and pinning him down until police arrived.
You know, like I said, there was no hesitation. It was just that split-second reaction. You know, I went to go tackle him. That other gentleman helped. We both helped each other, and I just feel we did what was the right thing. When we did what we did, it was just like, we didn't think about it, you know. It was just saving, other maybe lives.
A local Kansas City radio station says one of its DJs, Lisa Lopez, a mother of 2, was the woman who was killed. Her friend described her, quote, "She was the most wonderful, beautiful person. She was a local DJ. She did everybody's weddings. We all know her. She was so full of life." Now, the number of homicides in Kansas City last year matched an all-time high. The husband and wife who helped tackle that alleged shooter will join Fox and Friends at 8:30 Eastern, guys.
They will indeed. They were from Wichita. They drove up with their sons. Lucas, thank you very much. For a day of so much fun to turn to tragedy, the country is in shock. Kansas City is in shock. Patrick Mahomes posted this to X. He said, praying for Kansas City. Travis Kelce posted on X as well. I am heartbroken over the tragedy that took place. My heart is with all who came out to celebrate with us and have been affected. KC, you mean the world to me. And I just saw in the local Kansas City paper that Brittany Mahomes, the wife of the Super Bowl champ, said Super Bowls will never be the same again.
No, they won't. And Lawrence is out there covering crime. Let's bring Lawrence in this morning. He's in D.C., but he's been traveling the country. We had him in one city on Monday, another city Tuesday, another one today, and it's always the same story. It's crime.
Yeah, good morning, family. Obviously, we're mourning the loss there in Missouri, but I think it's important to note that this is happening every day. I think when these mass shootings happen, we hyper focus on just that one event, but I think the decay of America is happening in every major city in this country. Every single day there's a shooting, there's young people doing it, there's robberies. We're here in DC where the carjacking crisis is happening, and people are just wondering, when are there gonna be some type of a law and order established in America? This shouldn't be a partisan thing to not let criminals back on the street. And the reason why I say that, as we start to get information and we're waiting for it, normally, and I've covered a lot of these school shootings, these mass shootings, there's some type of criminal element in the past, whether there was a warning sign or a criminal record. And the question is, why are these people back on the street?
Yeah. 11 children were injured. They range in the age of 6 to 15. Right away, the president weighs in and talks about gun control, passed gun legislation, which is totally inappropriate in my view. Andy Reid, again, being the perfect person at the right time. Evidently, he went over there to Gabe Wallace, a high school sophomore, separated from his friends and family. Andy Reid was there, the coach of the team. He walked over and said, try to calm down. He was hyperventilating a little, and he did. He said, "You're okay, just breathe," because that city, that team and that city are one. They came out for the parade. They followed the parade. Then they went to the rally. The team gets on a bus. They go back to the stadium, and then the shooting takes place. And then you see the story is it's going to take a good Samaritan. Again, as many cops that were there, and evidently the FBI was there. There were hundreds of cops there. Nobody was off. If you were a police officer and had a uniform, you do need citizens to take action.
Yeah.
And this guy, what a hero! To tackle somebody who obviously who had a gun.
Mr. Contreras, Paul, the guy that Lucas was highlighting there, you heard that soundbite of the guy sitting on his front porch. He said one guy was hollering and saying, stop him or catch him. It was just a reaction. I didn't hesitate. I was just do it. I see his weapon either fall out of his hand or out of his sleeve. He was wearing a long jacket, and he said, we held him down. It seemed like forever, but it was probably like 30 seconds. One cop showed up, another showed up. We couldn't let him up. Finally, the cops get there, and they pretty much took over after that. He said they got him handcuffed, and then he told his 3 daughters, let's get out of here because we have a 2.5-hour drive. Right. Nobody was really saying, hey, stay here, we need your name or anything like that. We just got out of there. When I was watching the video, all of us who have children, we think, gosh, if that's my team, I'm going to take my kids there. Yeah. You're not safe. There's no way to prevent this because and we're waiting to hear more about these suspects. Do they have a record, to your point, Lawrence? Do they have a rap sheet? Could we have seen signs of this?
Yeah, was it organized? Do they have the right guys?
Well, it sounds like they got the 2 shooters in custody. They both used handguns, apparently. They say it is not terrorism related, and the police are investigating whether or not the shooters had a beef with somebody who was targeted. That is unclear. There will be press conferences later today. But just the sheer mass of what happened, when you think about it, they had the top politicians for the area. They had the governors of Kansas and Missouri there. They had the mayor of Kansas City and his family were there. There were 850 armed members of law enforcement. And if 850 members of law enforcement can't keep them safe, that is a sad commentary on where the hell we are.
And by the way, how many were armed? Because you can carry a gun in Kansas City, except for schools and churches and things like that. Meanwhile, Lawrence, you're covering something that's been a national plague, and that is carjacking, especially in D.C.
That's exactly right, Brian. We're here in D.C. on our top 3 of America's crime crisis. And yesterday, I had the opportunity to talk to a dad. His son was killed and carjacked over a week and a half ago, and the emotion that was there. He had a message. This is what he had to say.
Who's doing the carjacking? It seems like it's mainly kids. Like a younger generation that has no regard for human life. If you have a child that is not doing what they should be doing, is it your duty to go and let authorities know or someone know? Like, at what point does the parent have accountability? It just seems like it should be common sense laws that should apply in all major cities, not just Washington, D.C., but it just seems like politicians, they go back and forth, whether it's Democrat, whether it's Republican, or someone that doesn't want to align and they call themselves an independent. It just all seems like a game, and it doesn't seem like they're really serious about making a difference.
I mean, this dad was extremely emotional. The mom and grandmother were back in the back of the room, and I could hear the tears dropping as they cried about their son being tragically lost. But he goes to the heart of it. Are there some responsibility when it comes to the parents? And should they start being held accountable for what's happening on the streets today? Something's got to be done.
Right. I mean, we just saw those that one parent's going to jail, and maybe the other one's going to be going to jail of a prior shooting. So maybe that's a new trend. And is that fair?
You know, there's no regard. The dad's right. There's no regard for human life. Look at these pictures. I mean, the family will never be the same. They'll never see their son again. And holidays will be hard. Every day is going to be hard. Like you said, Lawrence, the mom and grandmother are crying. It's been a week and a half. They're going to cry tears for the rest of their lives. Their lives were totally changed because someone wanted to steal a car and brought a gun.
Right. Yeah, if you're a Redskin running back or you're a Trump official, you are target. I mean, if you're going to get your valet parked, you get in your car, you're targeted.
I was in Washington last week. We were not safe there. I did not feel safe once, and I was right at the White House. More on this throughout the morning.
That's right.
As Lawrence joins us from Union Station down there. We've got a Fox News alert. Speaking of the White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is headed to the Hill today to brief top lawmakers in the House on a serious threat that appears to be related to Russia.
Where did this come from? Sources reveal Moscow wants to deploy a nuclear weapon in space that could potentially destroy U.S. military satellites.
Brooke Singman is here with all the details for us. Brooke.
Hey, good morning, you guys. Yeah, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner sounding the alarm on what he is calling a serious national security threat. He's calling on President Biden to, quote, declassify all information relating to this threat so that Congress, the administration, and our allies can openly discuss the actions necessary to respond to this threat. But House Speaker Mike Johnson says there is no need to panic. Listen.
I want to assure the American people there is no need for public alarm. We are going to work together to address this matter as we do all sensitive matters that are classified.
Sources tell me that the threat does concern Russian capability, noting that the potential seriousness is grave but not immediate. But sources say the big concern here is Moscow could use a nuclear weapon to take out Western satellites and degrade U.S. military communications. And National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will brief top lawmakers today on Capitol Hill, but he says he was surprised by Chairman Turner's statement. Watch this.
This administration has gone further and in more creative, more strategic ways dealt with the declassification of intelligence in the national interest of the United States than any administration in history. So you definitely are not going to find an unwillingness to do that when it's in our national security interest to do so.
Guys, if Russia did put nukes in space, it would break the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, which bans nuclear weapons in space.
They want to race in space, they're going to lose.
I don't even know him. Somebody up and talks to them like that.
I hear somebody.
Right.
I don't even know.
Thank you very much, Brooke.
I don't know who they're talking about.
Yeah. we should point out that regarding Mike Turner, and
thanks, Brooke.
A number of people on Capitol Hill are scratching their heads. Why is he doing this? Because they were going to have this meeting. This information was obtained under FISA Section 702 of the surveillance law, which is currently being debated in Congress. And Turner appears to want to use this information about Russia to convince his colleagues in Congress that 702 is indispensable. And that appears to be why this information came out yesterday.
Apparently they want to kill our U.S. satellites and jam our communications. The meeting's today at 3 o'clock. We'll let you know what happens. All right,
ultimately, he wants the 702 passed again.
All right, let's turn to some of your headlines, some other headlines for you. The National Guard is being told to check migrants arriving in New York City for tattoos linked to a notorious Venezuelan street gang. The group is linked to a recent spree of cell phone robberies. The NYPD says the gang has carried out stabbings, assaults, and robberies. In a bulletin, U.S. service members are advised to be aware of, quote, symbols used by the gang to identify local activity and trends. In Washington, Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib voting present on a House resolution condemning Hamas's use of rape and sexual violence as a weapon of war. The squad member arguing the resolution ignores similar allegations against the IDF. Those claims have not been proven. Trey Yingst will join us in about 15 minutes with the latest on the war, plus details from a Fox News exclusive interview with FBI Director Christopher Wray, who made a surprise stop in Israel. Detroit Pistons center Isaiah Stewart arrested overnight for assault after punching Soon's center Drew Eubanks on Wednesday. The two players got into a pregame altercation in Phoenix before the teams faced off. Stewart was taken into custody and was released after being issued a citation. Phoenix police are still investigating the incident. Former President Donald Trump is expected back in court today in New York City. The judge in the hush money case against him is expected to decide if Trump's criminal trial will begin next month. The former president was charged with 34 counts of allegedly falsifying business records to allegedly keep claims about extramarital affairs quiet in the lead up to the 2016 election. If it proceeds, it would be the first of Trump's 4 criminal cases to go to trial. New overnight, sparks flying as a driver in a stolen car leads police on a wild hour-long chase through the streets of Southern California. The pursuit going through multiple counties, hitting speeds of over 100 miles per hour. Police using a pit maneuver to stop the driver, but he takes off again despite major damage to the vehicle. Officers finally taking him into custody after ramming the vehicle a second time. The Daytona 500 live on Fox this Sunday, and for the first time in his career, Joey Logano claims the top starting spot. He's going to join us later in the show to discuss this. But rain could affect the Great American Race. So let's check in with our senior meteorologist, Janice Dean, for our Fox weather forecast. Hey, Janice.
Yes, I was talking about this on Fox and Friends first. The last time we had a great amount of rain was, I think, 2014, and it delayed the actual start by 6 hours. We are expecting at least an inch of rain in this area over the next couple of days as we head into the weekend. So let's look at the live radar. We have a quick moving system across the Great Lakes. The West Coast, by the way, about to get wet again with more heavy rain from the Pacific and mountain snow. So there's our quick moving storm that's going to bring a quick shot of snow, even for New York City, we think tonight out of there. But then our next system moves in on Friday into Saturday morning. And again, this is not a blockbuster storm, but it is going to affect some travel if you're, traveling on Friday into Saturday. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then lake effect snow continues to move in. There's your snow forecast as we go through Sunday. We could see quite a bit of snow for upstate New York and parts of New England. But for the New York City area, less than an inch or so. There's your forecast today. So again, the West Coast getting wet with several rounds of systems starting today through the weekend. The storm number 3 is the one that's going to impact California on Sunday into Monday. So that's something we're going to have to watch for, because this has been inundated with rain with that atmospheric river. And coming up at 6:30, we'll go over that Daytona forecast, but definitely a wet track for the Daytona 500.
I just wish California could find a way to retain that water so we avoid drought. They still haven't made those maneuvers.
Listen, it is filling up the reservoirs. That's the good news. And the snowpack is really incredible. But a short period of time where you're seeing all of this rainfall is causing huge issues like mudslides, rock slides, and, of course, along the burn areas.
A typical El Nino year.
And I wonder how often the Daytona is delayed each year, because Florida gets a lot of rain.
Yes.
It's so hot there, it has the showers in the afternoon.
Absolutely. It's going to be, I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll have to drive slow.
Yes. Everyone should just slow down at the race.
All right, JD, thank you.
18 minutes after the hour, Fox News Alert. The judge overseeing former President Trump's election interference case in Georgia will hear evidence concerning Fulton County DA Fani Willis's alleged affair with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. The judge, who will decide whether the DA should be disqualified from the case, saying, quote, "The state has admitted a relationship existed. So what remains to be proven is the existence and extent of any financial benefit, again, if there even is one."
Wade saying in a sworn statement that his relationship with Willis did not start until after he was hired. Today's hearing's expected to begin in about 3 hours, and it could last up to 2 days.
So the big question is, what exactly would happen if there is a conflict of interest that is proven?
I think it goes back to the integrity of the investigation. What was the motive for this? And when you calculate this relationship and the fast track of it, and the meetings happening in the White House with the district attorney, I think that's where the water starts to get real muddy right there, guys.
Yeah, it just shows a political agenda where President Trump also says, why are you meeting with the White House counsel? When you're asked about, did you ever talk to Jack Smith about this case? Why did she refuse to answer? To me, that means yes.
So today we're going to get a bunch of answers, and tomorrow as well. Stay tuned. Keep it here on Fox. And by the way, if you tune in to Fox, make sure that you set your DVR so that you can record our program every day between 6 and 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You miss a little, you miss a lot.
And you'll never know where Lawrence got that vest from if you don't tape the show. You're like, I missed the show. No, I DVR'd the show, honey. We can watch tonight at dinner.
And the vest will be revealed.
It's a lot of people look.
All right, Lawrence, get ready. Take it off. Check the tag. Let us know where you bought it.
It's a cool vest. It fits perfectly.
Okay.
You don't need your arms never get cold. Meanwhile, a Fox News alert. Is Russia putting nukes in space? New intel suggests it could be true. Our next guest was a founding member of the U.S. Space Force. His take on the national security threat.
Plus, the United Kingdom is getting creative to combat their own migrant crisis. How they're planning on using TikTok influencers to get the job done.
Fantastic.
And this unbearably creative Valentine's Day police bust caught on camera. How they nabbed a suspected drug dealer. Later this hour, you're watching Fox and Friends for the day after.
We are back with your headlines. Court documents reveal new information in the alleged bribery scheme involving Democrat Senator Bob Menendez. Prosecutors say he solicited mayors to allow a COVID-19 testing lab to operate in New Jersey, a lab that was paying his wife, Nadine. Prosecutors also say Menendez accepted a $150,000 bribe and a diamond engagement ring. He's also accused of making regular calls to his wife's so-called 007 cell phone. Menendez was charged after authorities seized stacks of cash and gold bars from his home. The UK is turning to TikTok to try to curb illegal immigration. Officials plan to pay influencers to post videos warning migrants not to travel to Britain. The spots will warn about the risks and repercussions of using small boats to come to the UK. As of January, over 600 migrants traveled by boat to get into the UK. Over 29,000 migrants made that dangerous journey last year in 2023. Those are your headlines. Brian, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Carly. Now to this. FBI Director Christopher Wray speaking exclusively with Fox News during his surprise visit to Israel. Trey Yinks is live in Tel Aviv with the details. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey, Brian, good morning. We are learning more about a secret trip that FBI Director Christopher Wray made to Israel yesterday. This was Wray's first trip to Israel since the war began. And according to reports, he met with top officials from the Mossad and the Shin Bet, Israel's intelligence agencies. He also spoke with FBI agents on the ground who are working to counter global terror threats. Fox's David Spunt spoke with Wray over the phone in an exclusive interview about his visit to Israel.
We've seen a really rogues gallery of foreign terrorist organizations both express support and praise for the Hamas attacks and threaten to attack U.S. interests at home and abroad.
Wray's trip comes as American officials continue to push for a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas as the war enters day 132. A new report indicates a ceasefire could be tied to a broader peace plan that would lead to a Palestinian state. Though given the current government, such a plan would be unlikely to succeed. These developments in the Middle East do come as the Munich Security Conference gets started this weekend. This morning, Vice President Harris landed in Germany, where she will speak this weekend. Brian, Ainsley, Steve?
Fascinating. Appreciate it, Trey, and we'll follow up on that a little bit later in the show. 31 minutes now before the top of the hour. Fox News alert. Today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan heading to Capitol Hill to brief top House lawmakers on the, quote, national security threat, close quote, from Russia, as it may be looking to explore nuclear weapons in space. House Intel Chair Mike Turner calling on President Biden to, quote, declassify all information relating to this threat so that Congress, the administration, and our allies can openly discuss the actions necessary to respond to this threat. So our next guest serves as the first chief software officer for the Air Force and Space Force. Nicholas Shaylon joins us now. Nicholas, your reaction to this intelligence information, is that new to you?
It's not new to us, but I think it's pretty concerning that Russia would be considering violating the Outer Space Treaty. Not only this would enable them to target satellites and communications and GPS capabilities, but it also, more importantly, would be able to potentially be an EMP that could target the entire U.S. grid and all electronics. So this is way beyond space, and this would be a new capability that we have effectively no defense against.
And you knew about this when?
You know, I think it's been a couple of years that people have been tracking this kind of discussion. You know, China is also specifically looking at a lot of capabilities in space. You know, the Outer Space Treaty is preventing countries to deploy capabilities in space like that, but that's not been stopping them to consider it and start even designing these capabilities. You know, what's even more concerning is the fact that the U.S. right now has this program called Sentinel that's supposed to be replacing our 1970s ICBM ground missiles. And that program is now slipping with 2 years delays and $35 billion over budget. 35% of the budget is now over budget. And what's critical there, that's compounded by the fact that the Air Force Chief Information Officer has been pushing very recently, selected about 11 months ago to push this anti-innovation culture and preventing technologies to help airmen and guardians to innovate. And you've seen technologies.
Did you say
like
the
generative
Air
AI
Force?
being banned.
You say the Air Force is stopping innovation?
Yeah, the Air Force Chief Information Officer is the office in charge of all IT for the DoD and the Air Force and Space Force. And they banned recently, they're the only one really banning technologies like generative AI, which is really, supposed to be empowering the velocity of airmen and guardians to move at a pace of relevance. And, without technology, we just can't compete.
I just got two quick questions for you. Number one, do we have a plan to stop it if they have a plan to nuke us in space? And number two, why are we learning about this now, real quick?
I don't think there is a plan now to do much about it. I think we're looking at different options. It's very difficult, right? Because you're now addressing this issue on a much broader scale. Detection capabilities are not able to handle that kind of threat in space. So there's no real answer now. And I think we're learning about this now because people are trying to really shine a light to the importance of our ability to get all this information from Russia and these discussions to potentially stop these capabilities. So without these, we would not be able to know that Russia is working on these programs.
China's looking to knock them out with lasers. Russia's looking to knock them out with nukes. Together, they want to knock out our communication capabilities. Thanks so much, Nicholas. Appreciate it. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead, Fox News Alert, America's crime crisis hitting all corners.
Fox News Alert this morning. Shocked witnesses speaking out after a gunman opened fire at a Chiefs victory parade, killing one and injuring at least 20 more, including children. Former NFL player Jack Brewer is a man of God with a mission to help end violence plaguing our cities. He's been so kind to join us right now. Jack, brother, you do a lot of work in the community. Tell me about the root cause of this. What is causing young men mostly to commit these crimes?
Lawrence, I'm in a unique position where I walk into prisons every week, and I literally have hundreds of men who have pulled the trigger and committed gun violence. So I get a chance to understand and know what's going deeply on inside their heads. And I have to tell you, man, this is just showing you how much we're perpetuating sin in this nation. The root cause of this is fatherlessness, man. Over 82% of these mass shooters end up being fatherless kids when you look up and see the research and data. And so, we have a deep issue where if you don't have a fear of God inside of you and you're willing to pull a trigger and kill however many people as around that you have, there's a big issue with that, man. And in this nation, I feel like we have to start considering the death penalty for these mass shooters, man, because you're just taking people's lives.